SMT Nation, we back. Nation, we've got an update out of the AT&T and T-Mobile networks. It's actually pretty cool, so very exciting to report on it. There's a neutral host private network that's, starting to be built across the country. Different locations where I think some carriers may have trouble getting their signal in from, macros and possibly even small cells. And they're high leverage situations that could potentially have a lot of users within those areas. So why not support your network? AT&T and T-Mobile have agreed to do that. And this could become something important and that could scale in the future. So let's talk about it here in today's video. The article, Sumeric, Fierce Wireless, I'll put that for you guys in the description. And of course, ways to support the SMT, to show your appreciation for the content here on the channel. Those ways can be found there in the description as well. All right, the company's name is Khajiit, a neutral host private network provider that basically leverages CBRS spectrum, unlicensed spectrum. That would be 3.5 gigahertz frequency range. And what they do is they create a DAS-like experience for indoor coverage using those unlicensed spectrum opportunities. All right, now what they do is they build the network within these very specific buildings, think universities and hospitals, and any carrier can get on them, right? They can basically provision devices that are, say, for example, AT&T or T-Mobile, and customers that are on the AT&T and T-Mobile network would have access to this through that agreement with Khajiit. Now, this is basically LT for now because it's CBRS, but the move to 5G is coming. They are saying that on demand, as the 5G demand grows, they'll be able to provide those services as well. So you've got 4G, LTE, and 5G connectivity. It's going to be offered through this multi-operator core network. They've got gateways positioned and RAN equipment positioned throughout these different facilities. So the radio access network components they provide. The building owner is the one that actually makes the agreements, not the carrier, which is kind of interesting, right? We've typically seen private networks, the carrier has had to make the agreements with, like one we talked about in San Francisco, and I think it was the train or the busing, whatever the transport was, right? And that was AT&T. Well, now you got AT&T and T-Mobile involved in this. No word on what's going on with Verizon with respect to this. I will tell you guys that typically Verizon likes to build its own networking components. They like to build their own CRAN, own and operate their own nodes, their own DAS. But the nice thing about this particular setup is it's actually cheaper, more cost effective than building and managing a DAS, right? So I don't know if you guys have ever seen iDAS systems. You basically have a bunch of these different access points across these different buildings, and they serve as antenna systems and, broadcast the signal for different carriers. Now, the DAS system usually is owned and operated by the carrier. Sometimes it's by the host building that owns the DAS, and then carriers get on the DAS, right? So there's different types of ownership scenarios, but it uses less equipment, less power, less heating and cooling involved compared to a DAS, upwards of 50 or 70% less. So it may make it cost effective for carriers like AT&T to T-Mobile to have these type of partnerships and these arrangements. So very cool. Neutral host private wireless solutions from this company, Khajiit. I'm guessing they're not the only ones doing it. They mentioned Solona and InfiniG. There's different companies that are also doing this. So I think probably over the course of the next 3, 4, maybe 5 years, this will become more mainstream. You'll see more carriers allowing other companies like Khajiit to build these things and then get involved. So it's just another thing that they don't have to worry about at Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. Shout out to AT&T and T-Mobile for getting involved. This could become very popular. I know they mentioned a couple of universities, namely in the article. I'm trying to remember which one it was as I was scrolling the article. Was it Virginia or something? But it's very possible that this may only be for testing. Maybe they said, hey, let's try it in one building. If it's successful or it seems to be working well and the feedback is strong, they might expand it to additional buildings around the campus. Maybe they expand it to satellite campus locations. And before you know it, neighboring colleges and towns start to, consider these types of options. Regardless, I think this is great because it helps connectivity for folks across the country in these really precarious buildings where I could tell you, I remember going to college and being in some of the parts of the buildings and there was like no signal, especially like those really like concrete stairways and, some of those deep buildings within the library when I would do my studies, wasn't able to get signal. So I wasn't getting like texts or, any type of notifications for calling, if you don't have Windows. So this could be solutions in those types of situations. Very exciting. This is really cool stuff. Tell me what you guys think of this. Do you think there's promise? Do you like that it's AT&T and T-Mobile getting involved here? I think that's good, especially for T-Mobile, who hasn't really been keen to being on so many DAS systems and so many internal solutions indoors, or CRAN for that matter. So that's great. Definitely want to see them expand here. AT&T doing it well as well. So that's good. Let's see if Verizon gets involved on any level. Sound off in the comment section below your thoughts and opinions. Welcome to all the voice of the people, the SMT Nation. Let your voice be heard.